My mother gets the first floor, my father gets the second, my brothers get the third. The mother-in-law can stay in the little windowless room in the back. Those were the exact words my daughter-in-law, Emily, pronounced in the middle of my living room in front of her entire family, while handing out keys to my own house like they were candy at a child's party. They had already brought their suitcases. They had already distributed the keys. They had already decided my fate. I just smiled, stood up slowly, and went to find the property deed. By midnight, my lawyer had changed all the locks. But let me tell you how we got to that point. It all started 3 hours earlier, when I served the dinner I had prepared with so much care. I had made the favorite dish of Daniel, my only son, roast chicken with potatoes and that secret gravy that only I know how to make. Emily arrived with her parents, her 2 brothers, and even an aunt I had never seen before in my life. "It's a family dinner," Daniel had told me on the phone that morning. "Mom, make something special. We want to spend time with you." How naive I was. How stupidly naive. The table was perfect. I had taken out the good china, the set I bought when I first moved into this house 15 years ago. This house that I built alone, brick by brick, with the money I earned working double shifts as a nurse for 28 years. This 4-story house, that is the pride of my life and the testament to every sacrifice I made. Emily was smiling too much during dinner. That fake smile I already knew so well. Her parents ate in silence, but there was something strange in the way they looked at the walls, the ceilings, the furniture, as if they were evaluating, as if they were measuring. When we finished the main course, Emily tapped her glass with her fork. The metallic sound made everyone stop talking. Daniel looked at her, confused. She stood up with the elegance of someone about to give a rehearsed speech. "Family, I have an important announcement." Her voice was sweet as poisoned honey. "Daniel and I have made a very important decision about the future for all of us." My stomach tightened. Something was wrong. "This house is too big for a 66-year-old woman to live in alone." Emily pointed at me as if I were a child who needed supervision. "It's dangerous. The stairs, the empty rooms, all that wasted space. So, we've decided that the best thing is for the whole family to live here. Together. As it should be." I looked at Daniel. He wouldn't meet my gaze. His eyes were fixed on his plate, his face pale. My son, my only son, knew what was coming and didn't have the courage to warn me. Emily continued, growing more animated. "Mom, Dad, you will have the entire first floor. The large living room, the main dining room, the 2 bedrooms with attached baths. You're going to be so comfortable. Mark, David, the second floor is for you. You can bring your wives over whenever you want. There's plenty of space." Her brothers looked at each other with complicit smiles. This was planned. Everyone knew but me. Daniel and I will take the 3rd floor, of course. The master bedroom has the big walk-in closet and the balcony with the view of the mountains. It's perfect for us. She paused and looked directly at me. "And you, Eleanor, you can stay in the little room in the back, the one next to the laundry room. I know it doesn't have a window, but it's cozy. And at your age, you don't need that much space, right?" The silence that followed was deafening. Then, as if on cue, everyone began to applaud. Emily's parents hugged, crying with happiness. Her brothers high-fived. The unknown aunt shouted, "What a blessing!" Daniel still wasn't looking at me. I felt the floor move beneath my feet. The little room in the back, that 6x9 space where I keep old boxes and the spare washing machine, they were assigning me a utility closet in my own home. Emily pulled something from her designer purse, a set of shiny, freshly cut keys. The metallic sound as they landed on the table was like a gunshot. I already had copies made for everyone. I didn't want there to be any access issues. She handed a set to her father, another to her mother, one to each brother. The moving truck with my parents' furniture arrives first thing tomorrow morning. My brother's truck comes the day after. In 1 week, we'll all be settled in. It was then that I saw it, through the doorway of the foyer, piled against the wall. Suitcases. 5, 6, maybe 7 large suitcases. And boxes. Boxes with labels that read kitchen, living room, master bedroom. They had planned everything, down to the last detail. I stood up from the table slowly. very slowly. Everyone looked at me with that mix of pity and superiority reserved for the elderly who no longer understand how the world works. I walked to the display cabinet where I keep my important documents. I took out the brown leather folder. The property deed was there, perfectly folded, with my name in clear black letters. Eleanor Thompson, sole proprietor. I returned to the table with the folder in my hands. Emily watched me with that condescending smile. Eleanor, I know it's a big change, but you'll see it's for the best. You won't have to worry about maintaining this huge house. We'll take care of everything. You just rest. I opened the folder and read in silence. Every word, every clause, everything was in order. Everything was in my name. I closed the folder and held it to my chest. How interesting, I said with a calm I didn't feel. How incredibly interesting. Emily looked at me with that smug smile that irritated me so much. See, Eleanor? I knew you'd understand. You're a reasonable woman. She turned to her family. I told you my mother-in-law wouldn't be a problem. At her age, what she needs most is company and care. At my age. As if 66 years old made me mentally invalid. As if my gray hair had erased my brain. Of course, I replied softly. I'm just trying to understand something. I opened the folder again and took out the deed. When exactly did you talk to Daniel about this? When did you make this important decision about my house? Daniel finally looked at me. His face was red, his eyes moist. Mom, Emily said it was for the best. That you were too lonely here. That you could fall down the stairs and no one would know for hours. And it didn't occur to you to ask me what I thought. My voice was still calm, but each word came out sharp as a knife. It didn't occur to you that maybe I have an opinion about my own life. Emily intervened quickly. Eleanor, I understand you feel a bit displaced. It's normal. But think about the practical side. This house has 4 floors. 4 floors that you can't possibly maintain on your own. The property taxes are sky high. The utilities, the upkeep. If we all live here, we can split the costs. There it was. The real motive, emerging like trash floating on water. Split the costs, I repeated slowly. How generous of you, Emily. How generous to offer to help me pay the expenses on my own house. Her father, a large man with a mustache who hadn't opened his mouth all night, finally spoke. Mrs. Eleanor, don't take it the wrong way. My daughter only wants what's best for you. We're hard-working people. We'll contribute. We're not freeloaders. Of course not, I said. Freeloaders don't show up with their bags packed before the homeowner has even agreed to anything. Silence fell like a concrete slab. Emily's brothers stopped smiling. The mother shifted nervously in her chair, but Emily didn't flinch. That woman had skin thicker than a rhinoceros. It's just that we already had everything ready, she said nonchalantly. We didn't want to make you wait. Tomorrow we can start rearranging the spaces. You'll see how beautiful everything looks when we finish decorating. Decorating? You're going to decorate my house? I took a deep breath. Very deep. I counted to 10 in my mind. I couldn't explode. Not yet. I needed to stay calm and think clearly. These people weren't stupid. They were calculating, manipulative, and had clearly planned this for weeks, maybe months. Emily, I have a question. I took my phone out of my pocket. Who gave you permission to make copies of the keys to my house? She blinked. For the first time all night, I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes. Daniel gave me his copy. I thought it wouldn't be a problem. Daniel has keys to my house? I looked at my son. When did I give you keys, Daniel? He sank further into his chair. You gave me a set like 5 years ago. Mom, for emergencies. For emergencies, I repeated. And you considered a planned invasion of my home qualified as an emergency. It's not an invasion. Emily's voice went up an octave. It's family. Family helps each other. Or are you going to be so selfish as to keep this enormous house all to yourself while we pay rent on tiny apartments? There it was, the naked, ugly truth. They didn't care about my loneliness or my safety. They wanted my house because they didn't have one. Selfish, I whispered. You call me selfish for wanting to keep what I built with my own sweat. You worked hard. Yes, we know. Emily was losing her composure. You always remind us. The 28 years as a nurse, the double shifts, the sacrifices. But that's over, Eleanor. You made it. Now it's time for you to share. Emily's mother put a hand on her daughter's arm, trying to calm her. But Emily was on a roll. My family lives crammed into horrible places, while you have 4 empty floors. Do you know how unfair that is? Do you know how it feels to see someone have so much while you can barely make rent? Then work more, I said with a coldness that surprised me. Pick up more shifts. Save. Sacrifice your outings, your vacations, your little luxuries. Exactly like I did. Emily turned bright red. You lived in a different time. Everything is more expensive now. It's impossible to buy a house like this working a normal job. It's not impossible. It's uncomfortable. It's tiring. It's lonely. But it's not impossible. I stood up from the table, deed in hand. And you certainly don't get it by invading someone else's house. Mark, one of the brothers, finally spoke. He was a thin guy with a weasel-like face. Ma'am, don't be dramatic. No one is invading anything. We just want to live together. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with it? I walked to the foyer where the suitcases were. You came with luggage. You made keys without my permission. You distributed rooms without consulting me. And you assigned me a windowless utility closet in my own home. But sure, I'm the one being dramatic. I grabbed my purse, which was on the foyer table, and took out my phone. I looked for a name in my contacts. David Miller, my lawyer. The best property lawyer in the entire city. The man who helped me file this deed 15 years ago and who has handled all my legal affairs since. I dialed his number. It was 9:15 at night, but David had told me 1,000 times to call him any time if I needed help. He answered on the 3rd ring. Eleanor? What's wrong? Are you okay? David, I need you to come to my house. Now. It's urgent. My voice didn't tremble. And bring a locksmith. The best one you know. Emily jumped to her feet when she heard the word locksmith. What? What are you doing? Her voice rose to a shriek. Are you calling a locksmith? Why? I didn't answer her. I kept talking to David. Yes, 4 floors. All the doors. The main one. The service entrance, the garage. All of them. I paused. And bring the certified property documents. The originals from your office. Eleanor, give me 20 minutes. I'm on my way. David knew my voice well enough to know this was serious. Don't open the door for anyone but me. I hung up and turned back to the table. 8 pairs of eyes stared at me with expressions ranging from confusion to absolute fury. Eleanor, what the hell do you think you're doing? Emily walked toward me, her fists clenched. You can't change the locks. Daniel lives here. He's your son. Daniel does not live here, I said clearly. Daniel lives with you in that apartment you rent on the north side. He has his own home, even if it's rented. This is my home, but we're family. Emily's father also stood up. He no longer seemed so friendly. You can't just leave us on the street. We already left our apartment. Our lease was up today. We have nowhere to go. There it was, the full truth. They hadn't just planned to invade my house. They had burned their bridges. They had left their homes, betting that I would be too weak, too nice, too old to oppose them. That sounds like your problem, not mine, I replied. No one forced you to leave your apartments. That was your decision. Emily's mother started to cry, a theatrical cry with exaggerated sobs. I can't believe it. I can't believe you're so cruel. Where are we going to sleep tonight? On the street? Do you have any idea how much a hotel costs? You have a car. You can sleep in it. I didn't feel a shred of guilt saying it. Or maybe a relative on your side of the family can help you. You must have plenty, considering how close you all are. Mark slammed his palm on the table. This is ridiculous. We already have the keys. We're already here. You can't just kick us out like this. Of course I can. This is my private property. You entered with stolen keys. They're not stolen, Emily shouted. Daniel gave them to me. Daniel is not the owner. He has no legal right to authorize your entry. So, technically, you are trespassing. I walked back to the living room and sat in my favorite armchair, the green velvet one I bought at an auction 10 years ago. I suggest you start getting your suitcases. You have until the locksmith arrives to leave voluntarily. After that, it will be the police who handle it. Emily's face went from red to purple. Daniel, say something. It's your mother. Tell her she's crazy. My son finally found his voice. Weak, trembling, pathetic. Mom, please, don't do this. Emily is right. The house is too big. We can live together. I'll help you with everything. You'll never want for anything. Something broke inside me when I heard those words. My only son. The boy I raised alone after his father abandoned us when he was 3. The boy I worked for until my bones ached. The boy I paid for, in full, college, car, wedding. That boy was now siding with a woman who wanted to steal my house. Daniel, look at me. I waited until he looked up. When did you become this? When did you stop being my son and become a man who allows his wife to humiliate his mother? I don't want to humiliate you. I just want you to be safe. For you to not be alone. Lies. My voice cut through the air. If you were worried about my safety, you would have come to ask me how I was. You would have called more often. You would have visited without Emily dragging you here. What you want is this house, or rather, what she wants, because you stopped having your own opinion the day you married her. Shut up, Emily exploded. You have no right to talk to him like that. Daniel adores you. He's always thinking about you. And how do you repay him? By kicking him out of your house. He doesn't live here, I repeated. He has never lived here. I bought this house after he went to college. After he started his own life. This house is my achievement, not his inheritance. But it will be his someday. Emily shrieked. When you die, this house will go to Daniel. Or what? Are you going to disinherit him too? There was the real issue. Emily wasn't thinking about the present. She was thinking about the future, about my death, about the inheritance. She had probably spent years imagining the day this property would fall into Daniel's hands. And she decided she didn't want to wait. What I do with my assets is my decision, I said coldly. I can leave everything to Daniel. I can leave it to a stray cat foundation. I can sell everything and spend the last cent on cruises. It's my money, my house, my life. David, the other brother, approached. He was bigger than Mark, with the thick arms of someone who works in construction. He tried to use a conciliatory tone, but his size was a threat in itself. Mrs. Eleanor, be reasonable. We're already here. Why complicate things? We can make an arrangement. We'll pay utilities. We'll help with expenses. Everyone wins. I don't win anything by having 8 people living in my house without my permission. It's not 8. Emily practically spat the words. It's 7, and you would make 8. It's not a big deal. It is to me. The unknown aunt, who had been quiet all this time, finally spoke. She was an older woman, about my age, with her hair dyed an artificial orange. Oh, sweetie, don't be like that. Family is the most important thing. In my day, big houses were shared. Everyone together. Everyone happy. Not like now where everyone wants their space. That's modern selfishness. In your day, I replied, staring at her, women couldn't own property in their own name. They couldn't open bank accounts without their husband's permission. They couldn't decide their own lives. So, excuse me if I don't take advice from an era when women were treated like furniture. The aunt's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Emily seized the silence. You know what, Eleanor? You're a bitter old woman. That's why you're alone. That's why your husband left you. That's why Daniel barely comes to see you. Because you're unbearable. Daniel blanched. Emily? No. Shut up, Daniel. Emily was out of control now. Someone has to tell her the truth. She spent years martyring us with her sacrifice, her effort, how hard she worked. Well, congratulations. You worked hard and got a house. But that doesn't make you better than us. We work too. We try hard too. The difference is, we actually know what family means. I rose from the armchair. I walked toward Emily until I was standing right in front of her. We were the same height, but in that moment, I felt like a giant. Family, I said slowly, doesn't invade. Family doesn't manipulate. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't show up with suitcases to take what doesn't belong to them. I paused. You don't know what family is, Emily. You only know what it is to be a leech. Her hand rose to slap me. It never connected. I caught her wrist in midair, holding it with a strength I didn't know I had. Don't even try it, I whispered. Not in my house. The doorbell rang. David had arrived. I released Emily's wrist and walked to the door. Through the frosted glass, I saw David's silhouette, tall, with the leather briefcase that never left his side. But he wasn't alone. There were two other silhouettes behind him. I opened the door. David entered with his usual professionalism, in a full suit even at this hour. Behind him were two men in uniforms from a security company. One carried a toolbox. The other carried a silver case with padlocks. Eleanor. David greeted me with a kiss on the cheek, and then looked past me into the living room, where Emily's entire family was watching us like cornered animals. I see we have guests. Uninvited guests, I clarified, who are just about to leave. David nodded and pulled a thick folder from his briefcase. I brought everything. Original deeds certified by a notary, proof of payment for all property taxes for the last 15 years, utility bills in your name, everything. He looked at me with that seriousness he was known for. Do you want me to call the police now, or do you want to give them a chance to leave on their own? Emily rushed forward like a fury. You can't kick us out. We have rights. Daniel is her son. This house should be his. David looked at her as if she were a particularly annoying insect. Ma'am, my client's son has no claim to this property as long as she is alive and of sound mind, which she is. Mrs. Eleanor is the sole and absolute owner of this property. You are here without her consent. That is called trespassing. Emily's father tried to sound reasonable, but my son-in-law gave us the keys. He told us we could stay. Is your son-in-law the registered owner of this home? David asked without flinching. No, but... Then he has no authority to grant you access. The keys you possess were obtained improperly. Technically, you are using stolen keys. They're not stolen! Daniel finally dared to speak. I gave Emily my copy. My mom gave me those keys years ago. David turned to my son. Daniel, those keys were given to you for emergencies. For cases where your mother needed urgent help. Not for you to move your wife's entire extended family in without consent. Making copies of those keys without the owner's authorization is a crime. The color drained from Daniel's face. I didn't think. You didn't think. Correct. David's voice was like ice. And now your mother has to deal with the consequences of your lack of judgment. One of the security men stepped forward. Ma'am, we'll start on the locks. I checked my watch. It was 9:40 at night. Yes. Start with the front door, then the service entrance, the garage, and every interior door that has a lock. Wait. Emily ran toward me. You can't do this. Think about Daniel. He's your son. Your only son. That's precisely why it hurts so much, I said, looking directly at her. Because he is my son. And you turned him into someone capable of betraying his own mother. I didn't turn him into anything. He made his own decisions. Oh, really? I turned to Daniel. Tell me, son, this idea to move in here, to bring Emily's whole family, to assign me a windowless room in my own house, was that your idea? Daniel opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No sound came out. Exactly, I said. You can't even lie convincingly. Emily planned all of this, and you just followed her like an obedient dog. Don't talk to him like that. Emily stepped between Daniel and me. He respects you. He loves you. That's why he agreed to this. So you wouldn't be alone. To take care of you. If he wanted to take care of me, he would have come and asked me what I needed. He wouldn't have arrived with a premeditated invasion. I took a deep breath. This isn't love, Emily. It's convenience, it's greed, it's theft. David intervened again. I have documents here proving that Mrs. Eleanor purchased this property with funds from her salary as a nurse at General Hospital. She worked there from 1993 until 2021, 28 years. She retired with a full pension. She bought this lot in 2009 and built the house in stages over 6 years. She paid for every brick with her own money. There were no family loans. There was no help from anyone. He looked at each of the invaders. This house is the fruit of her exclusive labor. None of you have any moral or legal right to it. Emily's mother sobbed louder. But we have nowhere to go. Our landlord already rented our apartment. He signed a lease with another family. We can't go back. That, I said firmly, is a problem you should have considered before you gambled everything on invading my house. Mark got aggressive. You know what? Fine. We'll go. But let it be clear that you are leaving your own family on the street. When Daniel needs something, when he's sick, when he needs you, remember this night. Oh, I'll remember, I promised. I'll remember the night my son allowed me to be treated like an intruder in my own home. The security team had already started working. The sound of a drill filled the house as they removed the front door's lock. It was a beautiful sound. The sound of taking back control. Emily made one last, desperate attempt. David, you seem like a reasonable man. Talk to her. Tell her she's making a mistake. Family is sacred. You can't break it apart like this. David looked at her with something close to pity. Ma'am, I've been Eleanor's lawyer for 15 years. I know her. I know what she sacrificed to get where she is. I know the nights she slept 4 hours to work double shifts. I know there were weeks she ate nothing but bread and coffee to save every cent. I know that when Daniel was in college, she worked at 2 hospitals simultaneously to pay his tuition in full. He paused. And you come here, to the house she built with hands worn out from years of work, and you offer her a windowless room, a utility closet, as if she were the maid in her own home. He snapped his briefcase shut. No, ma'am, the mistake isn't being made by Eleanor. The mistake was made by all of you when you underestimated her. The silence that followed was absolute. Even Emily's mother's sobs stopped. The drill had stopped. The first locksmith held up the old lock. First lock removed, ma'am, he announced. Installing the new one. Yes, I replied. And make sure they are high-security locks. The kind that can't be duplicated without a special order. Emily looked at me with a hatred so pure I could almost touch it. You're a monster. A selfish, bitter old woman. You're going to die alone in this enormous house, and no one will cry for you. I'd rather die alone than be surrounded by vultures, I answered calmly. She turned to Daniel. Let's go. Get your things. We're leaving now. Daniel looked at me with pleading eyes. Mom, please. It doesn't have to be this way. We can fix this. We can talk. There's nothing left to talk about, Daniel. I felt something shatter in my chest, but my voice held firm. You made your choice. You chose to support this circus instead of defending your mother. Now live with the consequences. But I'm your son. Yes. And that's what makes this hurt even more. Daniel didn't move. He just stood there, eyes full of tears, like a lost child. For a moment, just one moment, I felt my resolve waver. He was my son, my only son, the baby I held in my arms, the child I taught to walk, to read, to be a good man. But then I remembered his words from earlier. Emily said it was for the best. Not I thought, not we decided, Emily said. My son had stopped thinking for himself a long time ago. Daniel, let's go. Emily's voice was an order, not a request. If you want to stay with this horrible woman, go ahead, but I'm leaving. And my parents and my brothers are leaving too. You decide. There it was. The ultimatum. The final test of loyalty. Daniel looked at me one last time. I saw the conflict in his eyes. I saw the part of him that was still my son fighting against the part Emily had molded over these 5 years of marriage. I saw the exact moment the second part won. I'm sorry, Mom, he whispered. I have to go with my wife. Something inside me died in that instant. I made no dramatic gesture. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply nodded. Then go. Emily smiled triumphantly, a small, poisonous smile. She had won that battle, and she knew it. She turned to her family, grabbed the suitcases. We're leaving. We're not staying one more minute in this house of stinginess and selfishness. It took them 20 minutes to get all the suitcases down. 20 minutes in which no one spoke, only the sound of wheels rolling on the floor, of boxes being dragged, of resentful muttering. The security team kept working. They had already changed 2 locks. The second man was working on the garage door. When they finally had everything in the foyer, Emily stood in front of me one last time. "This isn't over. We're going to sue. We have rights." David didn't look up from the documents he was reviewing. "You have no rights. But if you want to waste money on lawyers to tell you the same thing I'm telling you for free, go ahead. I recommend you find a good one. You're going to need it. Are you threatening us?" Mark asked aggressively. "No. I'm informing you." David finally looked at them. Mrs. Eleanor could press charges for trespassing, for illegal duplication of keys, for attempted property theft. She could sue you civilly for emotional distress. She could do many things. He paused. But she is a generous woman. She is letting you leave without legal consequences. I suggest you accept this generosity and go quietly. Emily's father picked up 2 large suitcases. He was sweating, his face red from the effort and humiliation. "This is unfair, completely unfair. We are hard-working, honest people. We don't deserve to be treated like criminals." "Honest people don't invade other people's homes," I replied. "Honest people don't make plans behind the owner's back. Honest people don't bring suitcases before they have permission." Emily's mother looked at me with contempt. "You don't know what need is. You lived your life. You had your chance. Now it's your turn to help others. That's how family works. But you're too selfish to understand." "I understand perfectly," I said calmly. "I understand you saw an opportunity to live for free in a 4-story house. I understand you thought it was easier to manipulate Daniel than to work hard and buy your own property. I understand you saw me as an obstacle, not a person. I understand everything." David, the large brother, picked up 3 boxes at once. He stopped in front of me, his expression threatening. "You're going to regret this. When you're really old, when you need help, when you're sick and alone, you're going to remember this night, and no one will be there for you." "I'd rather be alone than in bad company," I replied, unflinching. "And if I ever need help, I'll hire someone. I'll pay for professional services. I don't need false charity from people who only want my house." Emily grabbed Daniel by the arm. He still wasn't looking at me. "Let's go, honey. This place is full of negative energy. We'll find a hotel for tonight. Tomorrow, we'll figure out where to go." "A hotel?" Emily's mother nearly screamed. "Do you know how much a hotel costs for 7 people?" "Not my problem," Emily said, staring at me. "But don't worry, Mom. We'll find a way. We always do. We're not like her, who needs to cling to material things to feel important." David let out a dry laugh. "Ma'am, material things are called private property. And they're important because they represent work, effort, and sacrifice. They aren't toys. They are the result of a life of dedication." Emily didn't answer him. She pulled Daniel toward the door. The others followed, dragging suitcases, carrying boxes, muttering curses they thought I couldn't hear. The aunt with the orange hair was the last to leave. She paused in the doorway and looked at me with what might have been pity or contempt. I wasn't sure. "May God forgive you, ma'am, because your family won't." "I don't need forgiveness for defending what is mine," I replied. She shook her head and left. The door remained open. Outside, in the driveway, sat an old sedan and a beat-up SUV. They had to make several trips to fit all the suitcases and boxes. Some neighbors had come out to watch. Porch lights turned on. Curtains twitched. This was going to be the neighborhood gossip for weeks. Finally, the 2 vehicles started and drove away. Their taillights disappeared into the darkness. I closed the door. The security team was still working. The sound of the drill echoed in the silence. David put a hand on my shoulder. "Are you okay?" I didn't answer right away. It took me a moment to realize I was shaking. Not from fear, not from doubt, from contained rage, from repressed pain, from the adrenaline that had been holding me up through this whole nightmare. "I'll be fine," I said finally. "I just need to process it. You did the right thing." His voice was firm, certain. "You know that, right?" "I know." And I did. "But knowing you did the right thing doesn't make it hurt any less." The locksmith from the front door approached. "Ma'am, we're finished with the main entrance. This is your new key. Only 2 copies exist. One for you, and one backup that I recommend you keep in a safe place." I took the key. It was heavy, golden, different from the old one. How much longer to finish all of them? About another hour. There are 5 doors in total. We've done 3 already. I looked at my watch. It was 10:15. By midnight, everything would be done. By midnight, my house would be completely mine again. I sat on the sofa. David sat beside me. He didn't say anything. He was just there, in solid gold silence. "Do you think Daniel will come back?" I asked after a while. David sighed. "I don't know, Eleanor. That's up to him. Whether he finds the courage to think for himself. I gave him everything. Everything I had, everything I was, I know. And this is how he repays me? By bringing these people to invade my house? He wasn't the one who planned this. Emily was, but he allowed it. That's just as bad." I rubbed my eyes. I was tired, so terribly tired. When he was little, I promised myself I would never let anyone hurt him, that I would protect him from everything. You did. You protected him so much that he never learned to protect himself. His words hit me like a punch. He was right. I had been such a good mother, so protective, so dedicated, that Daniel never developed the backbone needed to face life. When Emily showed up with her dominant personality, he just let himself be swept away. It was easier than thinking. The sound of the drill continued, methodical, constant, comforting. Every lock that fell was a symbol. Every new lock installed was a declaration. This is my house. This is my space. No one enters without my permission. David was reviewing documents in silence. Occasionally, he made notes in a legal pad. Always meticulous, always prepared. That's why he was the best. "David," I said after a long silence, "do you think I'm a bad person?" He looked up from his papers. "Why would you ask that? I kicked out my son, my only son, and his entire in-law family. I left them with nowhere to go. You didn't kick them out. They never had a right to be here." His voice was firm. "Eleanor, look at me. You are not the villain in this story. They arrived with a plan, an elaborate, calculated plan designed to strip you of your autonomy in your own home. They were going to give you a windowless room. Do you understand the magnitude of that humiliation? They didn't see you as the owner. They saw you as an inconvenience to be shoved in a corner. But they're family. Family doesn't do that." He closed his notepad. "Family respects. Family asks. Family does not invade. What they tried to do had nothing family about it. It was an act of pure and simple appropriation." He was right. Of course he was right. But the ache in my chest didn't go away with logic. The pain of watching Daniel choose Emily over me. The pain of realizing that my son, the boy I loved more than my own life, didn't have the courage to defend me. One of the security men came into the living room. "Ma'am, we're done with the service entrance and the garage. Just the back patio door left." "Perfect. Thank you." I got up from the sofa. "I'm going to make coffee. Would you like some?" All 3 men looked grateful. I went to the kitchen. My kitchen, the one I designed myself, with the light wood cabinets I chose after looking at 50 different samples, with the granite countertop that cost 3 months' salary but that I'd wanted ever since I saw one in a magazine, with the stainless steel appliances I bought one by one, saving, waiting for sales. This kitchen was mine, like every room in this house, like every piece of furniture, every painting, every plant in the garden. Everything had been chosen by me, paid for by me, cared for by me. While the coffee brewed, I looked out the window into the backyard. The automatic lights had come on, illuminating the bougainvillea I planted 10 years ago. It now covered the entire back wall, a cascade of magenta flowers that bloomed every spring. I remembered the day I planted those cuttings. Daniel was 23. He had just gotten his first job as an engineer. He came to visit me that Sunday, excited, telling me about his office, his colleagues, his projects. He helped me dig the holes. He got his hands dirty. He laughed when the dirt spattered his face. "Mom," he had said that day, "when I'm a grown-up like you, I want to have a house just like this, with a garden and everything. You will, I told him. If you work hard, if you save, if you don't give up, you will. But he never did. 5 years later, he met Emily. They got married within a year. She wanted a big wedding, an imported dress, a honeymoon in Europe. Daniel asked me for help. I gave him $20,000 from my savings. It was everything I had put away for emergencies. It's your wedding, I told him. You only get married once. How wrong I was. Not about the marriage, but about the gratitude. Emily never thanked me. She didn't even include me in the planning. I picked out my dress for the wedding 3 days before the event. A mint green dress I found on sale because no one told me the color scheme. I got to the church, and all the female guests were in pastels. I looked like a Christmas tree. Daniel said nothing. He didn't defend me. He didn't ask Emily to include me. He just let it all happen. When did it start? When did my son stop being my son and become the silent husband who nodded at everything? The coffee finished brewing. I filled 4 mugs. I brought the tray into the living room. David accepted his with a tired smile. The 2 security men took theirs as well. Gratefully. "Ma'am," said the one who seemed to be the team leader, "can I ask you a personal question?" "Go ahead. Why did your son let this happen? I mean, you seem like a good person. This house is beautiful. Why would he want to take it from you?" David stepped in before I could answer. It's not that he wanted to take it. It's that his wife convinced him it was for the best. Some people have a special talent for manipulation, for making their own interests look like the common good. The man nodded. My brother-in-law is like that. Convinced my sister to sell my mom's car because she didn't need it anymore. He kept the money. My sister still defends him. Exactly, David said. Emotional manipulation is a powerful tool, especially when the victim wants to believe they're doing the right thing. I drank my coffee in silence. It was hot, strong, exactly how I liked it. Outside, the night was quiet. The neighbors had turned off their lights. The scandal was over. But on the neighborhood social media pages, I was sure the speculation was just beginning. I didn't care. I'd stopped caring what other people thought a long time ago. When you build something from scratch, when you survive on your own, you develop a shell, an invisible armor against the judgments of others. My phone vibrated. A text. It was from an unknown number. I opened it. "I hope you're happy. You left your son on the street. You're a horrible mother. I hope you rot in that empty house." It was Emily's number. Of course. She couldn't just leave. She had to have the last word. I showed the text to David. He read it and shook his head. "Do you want me to prepare a restraining order?" "Not yet." I saved the message as evidence. "If she continues, then yes." "Very well." He took a screenshot. "I'd also recommend you change your number, or at least block hers." "I'll think about it." I put my phone away. Do you know what's saddest, David? It's not even Emily's text that hurts. It's that Daniel hasn't written anything. Not an apology, not an explanation, not an "I'm sorry, Mom," nothing. He's ashamed. He should be. He'll react eventually. He's going to realize what he did, and he's going to want to fix it. And what if by then it's too late? My voice cracked a little. What if the damage is irreparable? David put his hand on mine. Then it means it was irreparable to begin with. And you will have done the right thing by setting boundaries. The security team finished with the last lock at 11:37 at night. They handed me an envelope with all the new keys. 6 sets in total, 1 for me, 5 for backup. These are high-security locks, the leader explained. They can't be duplicated at any hardware store. They require a special order with ID and owner authorization. If someone tries to force them, they have an automatic locking system. They're practically impenetrable. Perfect. I took the envelope. It was heavy. All those keys, all that metal, all that security. How much do I owe you? Mr. Miller already took care of the payment. I looked at David, surprised. You didn't have to do that. Consider it a gift. For all the years of friendship. He smiled. Besides, your case inspires me. I'm going to write an article about property rights and family manipulation. With your permission, of course. You have my permission. But change the names. Obviously, the security men left. David gathered his papers and his briefcase. You'll be okay on your own? I'll be better than okay. And it was true. For the first time in hours, I felt like I could breathe completely. Thank you, David. For everything. For coming on a Sunday night. For bringing help. For being on my side. I will always be on your side, Eleanor. You're the bravest client I have. He kissed my cheek. Call me if you need anything. Anything at all. Any time. I will. He left. I closed the door behind him. The new lock made a different sound as it clicked into place. More solid, more definitive, more secure. I stood there, in my foyer, in my house, under my roof. The silence was absolute. No invasive voices, no fake laughter, no malicious plans whispered in corners. Just silence. My silence. The silence of victory. I looked at the wall clock. 11:53. In 7 minutes, it would be midnight. A new day, a new beginning. I walked through the entire house. I turned on the lights in every room. The first floor Emily had assigned to her parents. The second floor she had promised her brothers. The third floor she had claimed for herself and Daniel. And the fourth floor, my personal space with my study, my library, my sanctuary. Everything was intact. Everything was still mine. In the room in the back, that windowless space Emily had designated as my prison, I turned on the light. It was a small room, yes, but it wasn't a utility closet. It was my pantry. It was full of preserves I had made myself. Strawberry jams, peaches in syrup, tomato sauces, products from my garden, from my work, from my hands. I closed the door. That room would never be anyone's bedroom. It would remain exactly what it was. A pantry. A functional space, not a cell. I went up to the third floor. The master bedroom Emily had claimed so confidently. I opened the door and turned on the light. The bed was perfectly made with the cream-colored sheets I had bought last month. The linen curtains fell elegantly to the floor. The balcony with the mountain view was closed, the glass doors reflecting my solitary image. This room was never for Daniel and Emily. It never would be. It was my guest room. I kept it for when friends came to visit, for when a colleague from the hospital needed a place to stay. It was a space of generosity, not appropriation. I closed the door and kept climbing. To the fourth floor, my refuge. Here was my real bedroom. Smaller than the one on the third floor, but with something no other room had, the view of the sunrise. My window faced east. Every morning, the sun woke me with its golden rays. Every morning was a reminder that I had survived another night, that I had another day to live on my own terms. My study was next door. 2 entire walls filled with books, novels I had read during my breaks at the hospital, medical manuals I had studied for my certifications, books on gardening, cooking, history, poetry, a whole life of learning contained on those shelves. My desk was by the window. Here I paid my bills, answered emails, planned my life. On the desk I had a framed photo. Daniel, at 10 years old, smiling in his soccer uniform, before adolescence, before hormones, before Emily. When he still looked at me like I was his hero. I picked up the photo. I traced the outline of that innocent smile with my finger on the glass. Where did that boy go? I whispered. Where did my son go? The clock struck midnight. The chimes echoed from the neighborhood church. 12 chimes. 12 strikes marking the end of this horrible day and the beginning of another. I sat in my chair. I was tired. So deeply tired. But it wasn't a physical exhaustion, it was emotional. The exhaustion of having fought a battle I should never have had to fight. The battle of defending my own home from my own family. My phone vibrated again. Another text. This time, it was from a number I recognized. Sarah, my friend from the hospital. We had worked together for 15 years before I retired. Eleanor, are you okay? Your neighbor texted me saying she saw police at your house. What happened? The police hadn't come, but the neighbors had seen David's car and the security team's vehicle. To them, it was all the same. Drama, scandal, gossip fodder. I texted back. I'm fine. Had an unwanted visit. They're gone now. I'll tell you tomorrow. Her reply was immediate. I'm coming over. No, Sarah, it's midnight. I'm fine. Really. You're alone after something bad. I'm coming over. I have my key. Oh, wait. You changed the locks. I smiled despite everything. Sarah knew me too well. Yes. But you can come tomorrow. Tonight? I just need to process. You sure? I'm sure. Okay, but I'm coming over early, and I'm bringing pastries. It's a deal. I put the phone away. Sarah was real. Sarah was one of those people who didn't judge you, who didn't ask for anything, who was just there. We worked so many shifts together we became sisters. Battle sisters, we called it, because working in the ER is a battle. Every shift is a war against time, against death, against despair. Sarah would understand what happened today. She had complicated family, too. Her sister once tried to sell her a life insurance policy where the sister was the beneficiary. Sarah threw her out of the house and didn't speak to her for 2 years. Blood doesn't give you the right to be a leech, she told me back then. Real family respects boundaries. She was right then. She was right now. I got up and went to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. I was 66 years old, but that night I looked 80. The dark circles were deep. The lines around my mouth were more pronounced. My hair, which I normally wore in an elegant bun, was disheveled, with rebellious strands escaping everywhere. You are a survivor, I told my reflection. You've survived worse, and it was true. I survived a failed marriage to a man who left me with a young child and debts up to my neck. I survived the humiliation of having to ask my parents for help, which they gave, but always reminded me of my failure. I survived 28 years of cleaning wounds, holding the hands of the dying, seeing things no one should have to see. I survived the death of my mother, my father, friends, patients who became friends. I survived. I always survived. And I would survive this too. I washed my face with cold water. I brushed my teeth. I put on my pajamas. The nightly routine was comforting in its normality. As if this day were any other day. As if I hadn't kicked my son out of my house just 2 hours ago. I got into bed. The sheets were cool, soft. I had washed them that morning, not knowing that by the end of the day, everything would have changed. I turned off the light. The darkness settled in, complete and total. But I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying the night, over and over. Emily's face as she announced her plan, Daniel's cowardice in not defending me, the applause from that family of vultures, the humiliation of hearing them assign me a windowless room in my own home, and then the satisfaction. The cold, sweet satisfaction of seeing their faces when David arrived. When the security team started changing the locks, when they realized they had underestimated the old lady they thought they could manipulate, that satisfaction was mixed with pain. Because no matter how justified my actions were, no matter how right my decision was, it didn't change the fact that I had lost my son, at least temporarily, maybe permanently. Would Daniel come back? Would he find the courage to apologize? Or would Emily keep him under her control, convincing him that I was the villain, the cruel mother who left them on the street? My phone vibrated again. I ignored it. But it kept vibrating, and vibrating, and vibrating. I turned on the nightstand lamp and grabbed the phone. 15 messages. All from Emily's number. I read them one by one. Each one was more venomous than the last. I hope you're proud of yourself. Daniel is crying because of you. We had to pay for 3 hotel rooms, $300. I hope you feel good, stealing from us. My parents have heart problems. If something happens to them, it's your fault. You're a bitter, lonely old woman. No one will ever love you. When you die, they'll find your rotting body days later, and no one will cry. Daniel told me to tell you he's very disappointed in you. We're seeing a lawyer tomorrow. We're going to take everything from you. God is going to punish you for this. I hope you have a heart attack and no one is there to help you. You are the worst mother in the world. Daniel says he doesn't consider you his mother anymore. You're going to die alone, and you deserve it. I hope you suffer as much as you made us suffer. You will never see your grandchildren. Never. I swear it. I read every message without emotion. It was like reading the ravings of a rabid animal. Pure venom without substance. Pure rage without argument. The only one that hurt was the message about Daniel. Daniel says he doesn't consider you his mother anymore. Was it true? Or was it just more of Emily's manipulation? Had my son fallen so low that he could say something like that? I blocked the number. I should have done it from the start. I didn't need that poison in my life. I had enough pain without adding the hatred of a woman I barely knew. I lay back down. This time, I put the phone on airplane mode. No more messages, no more interruptions, just me and my silence and my reclaimed house. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. In, out, in, out. A technique I had learned in my nursing years to manage stress. Conscious breathing. Present in the moment. Eventually, sleep came. It wasn't a peaceful sleep. I dreamed of Daniel as a child, running through a park. I was running after him, trying to catch up. But he ran faster and faster. And when I finally reached him, he turned around and he had Emily's face. I woke up with a choked cry in my throat. The dawn came too soon. The first rays of sun cut through my window just as they did every morning. But this time they didn't bring me peace. They brought me the raw reality of what had happened. It hadn't been a nightmare. It had all been real. I got up slowly. My body was stiff, as if I had fought a physical battle instead of an emotional one. I went to the bathroom, washed my face, and looked at myself in the mirror again. The dark circles were still there, but there was something different in my eyes. A hardness that wasn't there before. A resolve. I went down to the kitchen. I made coffee. The aroma filled the empty house. My house, completely mine again. I took bread from the freezer, warmed it in the oven. I served it with strawberry jam I had made last summer from my garden's strawberries. A normal morning. Except nothing was normal. At 8 o'clock sharp, the doorbell rang. Sarah, always punctual. I opened the door and there she was, with her warm smile and a huge bag of pastries. I brought bear claws, danishes, and croissants. I didn't know what you'd be in the mood for. Come in. I hugged her. A long hug, the kind you need when your world is falling apart. She came in and looked around. New locks. On all of them. 5 in total. Okay, now, tell me everything, and don't skip a single part. We sat in the kitchen. I poured her coffee, and I told her everything. From the moment Emily tapped her glass to when I blocked her number at midnight. Sarah listened without interrupting, her face going through every emotion. Surprise, indignation, fury, and finally, a dark satisfaction. That woman is a viper, she said when I finished. A calculating viper, and Daniel said nothing? Nothing in my defense. Nothing. He just sat there like a mouse. Sarah shook her head. That boy needs to grow up. He's 31 years old. It's time he found his spine. I'm the one who took it from him, I said bitterly. I protected him so much he never learned to defend himself. And now look, he's his wife's puppet. No. Sarah put her hand on mine firmly. You were a good mother, an exceptional mother. What Daniel is now is his own choice. You gave him the tools. He chose not to use them. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe it wasn't my fault. But guilt is a persistent feeling, especially for mothers. Do you know what hurts the most? I said after a moment. It's not that Emily tried to steal my house. It's that Daniel let her. That my son, who grew up watching how hard I worked, how much I sacrificed, could allow someone to treat me like that. I know. Sarah drank her coffee. But you did the right thing. You set a boundary. That's healthy. That's necessary. Sarah's phone rang. She looked at it and frowned. It's Brenda. From the hospital, she answered. Hey, yeah, I'm with her now. What? Are you sure? Her face turned serious. Okay, thanks for the heads up. She hung up and looked at me. Eleanor, there's something you need to know. My stomach clenched. What happened? Emily was at the hospital this morning, in the ER, claiming you assaulted her last night, that you pushed her, that she has bruises. Brenda saw her. She says the bruises are old, from days ago, not last night. But Emily is insisting. She says she's going to file a police report. I felt my blood run cold. What? She's going to press assault charges. She's trying to build a case against you. I was paralyzed. This was worse than I imagined. Emily didn't just want my house. She wanted to destroy me. She wanted to make me the villain of her story, so she could take everything. Did Brenda believe her? I asked. Of course not. Brenda knows you. She worked with you for years. She knows you're not violent, but she documented everything in the chart. The bruises are clearly old. There are photos. If Emily presses charges, those photos will prove she's lying. I took a deep breath. I need to call David. Call him now. I got my phone and dialed. David answered on the second ring. Eleanor, what's wrong? I told him about Emily's visit to the hospital, about the false accusations, about the old bruises she was trying to pass off as new. There was a tense silence. Then David spoke, his voice as cold as ice. That woman just made a serious mistake, a very serious one. Filing a false police report is a crime, and we have proof that it's false. The medical photos are time-stamped. The bruises have an obvious age. Plus, we have the testimony of the security team who was there all night. And mine. What do? Nothing. Let her file the charges. When she does, we will countersue for filing a false report, defamation, attempted extortion, and harassment. I am going to destroy her case before it ever sees a judge. He paused. Eleanor, I need you to send me screenshots of every single text message she sent you last night. All of them. They are evidence of harassment. I have them. I'll send them now. Perfect. And if she contacts you again, do not respond. Just document. Every text, every call, everything. We're building the case against her now. I hung up and showed the texts to Sarah. She read them with her mouth open. This woman is completely insane. Look at this. I hope you have a heart attack and no one is there to help you. Who writes that? Who? Someone desperate, I replied. Someone who just lost what they thought they already had. More like someone who's a sociopath. Sarah took a pastry and bit into it furiously. I can't believe Daniel is with this woman. What was he thinking? He wasn't. That's the problem. We spent the next hour sending everything to David. Screenshots of the texts, the timeline from the night before, the names of all the witnesses. Sarah even called Brenda and asked her to prepare a detailed medical report on Emily's bruises. If she's going to play dirty, Sarah said with determination, we're going to bury her in evidence. At 10 in the morning, my phone rang. An unknown number. I didn't answer. They left a voicemail. I listened to it with Sarah by my side. It was Daniel. His voice was hoarse, tired, defeated. Mom, it's me. Please, we need to talk. Emily says you pushed her last night. She says she has bruises. I don't know what to think. Please, call me. I need to hear your side. Please. Sarah snatched the phone from me before I could do something stupid like call him back. No, don't even think about it. This could be a trap. He could be recording. He could be trying to get you to say something they can use against you. But he's my son. He's the husband of a woman who is falsely accusing you of assault. You cannot talk to him without a lawyer present. Not until this is resolved. She was right. Of course she was right. But it hurt. It hurt not being able to talk to my own son. It hurt that he asked for my side as if there was any doubt about what happened. I forwarded the voicemail to David. His reply was immediate. Do not call him. Do not talk to him. This is a tactic. If you talk now, they can twist your words. Wait, wait, always wait. But the waiting was torture. Sarah stayed with me all morning. We cooked lunch together. Chicken with rice and salad. Simple, comforting food. We ate in silence, each lost in our own thoughts. You know what? Sarah said suddenly. This is going to sound awful, but I have to say it. Maybe this is the best thing that could have happened. I looked at her, confused. The best thing? How? Because now you see Emily's true face. Imagine if you had let them stay. Imagine living with this woman every single day, with her family, in your own home. They would have eventually pushed you out completely. They would have made you feel like a stranger in your own house. They would have manipulated you until you signed papers, until you gave them rights. And when you were finally of no use to them, they would have put you in a nursing home. Sarah looked at me directly. What she's doing now, the false accusations, the harassment, the hateful texts, this is who she always was. Only now, she doesn't have to pretend. Now you get to see it clearly. Her words hit me like a lightning bolt. She was right. Absolutely right. If I had let them stay, this would have been worse. So much worse. At least now I got them out before they did real damage, before they took my autonomy, my dignity, my life. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you for being here. Always. Sarah cleared our plates. And now we're going to do something productive. We are going to document everything. We're going to write a complete timeline of last night, with exact times, with verbatim dialogue, everything you remember. Because if this goes to court, you're going to need your story to be crystal clear and consistent. We spent the next 2 hours doing exactly that, writing down every detail, every word, every gesture. Sarah typed notes on her laptop while I spoke. When we were done, we had a 12-page document, complete, detailed, precise. This is gold, Sarah said, saving the file. David is going to love this. We sent it to him immediately. His response was, "Excellent work. This is exactly what I needed. Keep documenting everything." At 3 in the afternoon, Sarah had to leave. She had a shift at the hospital at 4. She hugged me for a long time before she left. "You're going to be fine. You're stronger than you think." I don't feel strong. Nobody feels strong when they're being strong. It's only afterward that you realize what you survived. When she left, the house was silent again. But it was a different silence from last night. It was a silence of preparation, a calm before the storm, because I knew this wasn't over. Emily wasn't going to give up. And Daniel was trapped in the middle, not knowing who to believe. 3 days passed. 3 days of tense silence. 3 days where every time the phone rang, my heart hammered. But Emily never filed the charges. There were no police at my door, no legal summons. Just silence. David called me on the 4th day. "I have news. Good and bad. Give me the bad first." Emily hired a lawyer, a cheap one, but a lawyer nonetheless. They're preparing a civil suit. Not criminal. Civil. They're claiming you caused them emotional distress by kicking them out, that Daniel has a right to the house because he's your son, that the property should be considered family property. My stomach clenched, and the good news? Their case has no legal standing. None. I've checked every possible angle. The house is entirely in your name. Daniel never lived there. There is no will that gives him rights while you're alive. There is nothing. Their lawyer must know this, but he's probably charging them to try anyway. He paused. And there's something else. I spoke with their lawyer, officially, to negotiate. Unofficially, he told me Emily is unbearable, that she changes her story every 5 minutes, that she has no evidence of anything. He hinted that if we offer them something small, he'll convince his clients to take it and close the case. Something small? Like what? Like $5,000 for moving expenses and emotional damages. It's extortion disguised as a legal settlement. I felt the fury rise in me. I am not giving them 1 cent, not one. Let them go to trial if they want. They will lose, and they will have to pay all the legal fees. That's my girl. David sounded proud. I'm going to tell them exactly that. And I'm going to countersue for harassment, defamation, and the false report about the bruises. We're playing offense, not defense. Do it. When I hung up, I felt something strange. It wasn't satisfaction. It wasn't joy. It was acceptance. Acceptance that my relationship with Daniel was broken, maybe irreparably. Acceptance that Emily had won that battle. She had kept my son. But I had won the war. I had kept my house, my dignity, and my freedom. That night I slept better than I had in days. No nightmares. No waking up in a panic. Just the deep sleep of someone who knows they did the right thing. 2 weeks later, David called me again. It's over. They dropped the suit. What? Emily's lawyer quit the case. Apparently, she didn't pay him, and she also threatened him when he told her she had no case. He filed a formal withdrawal, and now they have no legal representation. Without a lawyer, they can't continue. I sat down slowly. And Daniel? Did he say anything? The lawyer mentioned your son was present at the last meeting, that he looked devastated, that he tried to calm Emily down, but she humiliated him in front of the lawyer, that she screamed at him that he was useless, that he was good for nothing, that his mother had turned him into a failure. David sighed. Eleanor, I think your son is waking up. Slowly, but he's seeing what we all saw. I didn't know what to feel. Relief? Sadness? Hope? It all mixed into an impossible knot in my chest. So, what happens now? Now, nothing. The case is closed. They can't sue you for the same thing again. You're free. Your house is safe. You won. I won. The word should have sounded victorious. It just sounded empty. A month after that terrible night, I was watering my bougainvillea when I heard the doorbell. I didn't jump every time it rang anymore. I had gotten my peace back. I opened the door, and there was Daniel. Alone. No Emily. No suitcases. Nothing but an expression of complete defeat. Hi, Mom. I didn't respond. I just looked at him. He had lost weight. He had dark circles. He looked 10 years older. Can I come in? Just for 5 minutes. Please. I stepped aside. He walked in slowly, looking around as if seeing the house for the first time. We sat in the living room. The silence was dense, heavy. Emily and I separated, he said finally. A week ago. I left the apartment. I'm staying in a hotel. I still didn't speak. I let the silence do the work. You were right. About everything. She only wanted the house. When she realized she couldn't get it, she started looking for other options. She wanted me to take out a loan in your name, to convince you to sign papers. When I refused, his voice broke. She told me I was a coward, that I was useless, that I would never be man enough for her, that if I couldn't even get my mother's house, then I was good for nothing. A tear ran down his cheek. I did nothing to comfort him. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry for everything. I'm sorry I was so blind. I'm sorry I let her treat you like that. I'm sorry I chose someone who was just using me over the woman who gave me everything. He covered his face with his hands. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand. I finally see what everyone else saw, and I am so ashamed of myself. I looked at him, my son, my only son, broken, repentant, finally awake. Daniel, I said softly, I love you. I will always love you. You are my son, but I can't forget what happened. I can't pretend it didn't hurt to see you side with someone who wanted to destroy me. I know. I need time. I need to heal. And you need to learn to be your own person, not my dependent son. Not her submissive husband. Your own person. He nodded, not looking up. When you're ready, when you are that person, we can talk about rebuilding what was broken. But not today. Today is too soon. He stood up slowly. Thank you for seeing me, for hearing me out. It's more than I deserve. I walked him to the door. Before he left, he turned. Mom? Yes? I'm proud of you, for standing up for yourself, for not letting them walk all over you. I wish I had half of your strength. I closed the door when he left. I leaned against it and let out the sobs I had been holding in for weeks. I cried for what I lost. I cried for what was broken. But I also cried in relief, because I had survived, because I had set boundaries, because I had chosen my own dignity over guilt and manipulation. That night, I went up to my room on the 4th floor. I sat at my desk and looked out the window. The city lights glittered below. My city, my house, my life. I took a piece of paper and wrote a single sentence. A sentence that would become my mantra, my truth, my shield. I built this house brick by brick. No one divides what I bled to conquer. Real family respects. It does not invade. I taped it to the mirror where I would see it every morning. A reminder that boundaries are not cruelty. That no is the wall that protects what I've built. That sometimes what others call selfishness is simply freedom. And in that silence of my reclaimed home, I finally found peace.